This one, Atheist Reads Christian Literature. This one is Bringing Others to Jesus by Dr. Shelton Smith. He's supposedly the world-renowned, most sought-out soul winner. You know, the greatest job in the world. We win souls. We're preachers. He didn't say that. There was another preacher that said that. The greatest job in the world, not being a doctor or scientist or anything like that. It's like celebrities, you know, they think they have the greatest job in the world. They do that, you know, how stuck up the Hollywood trash is, right? Anyways, here we go. Bringing others to Jesus. And what made me decide to do this one is this. I still have my preaching CDs, and I like to listen to them once in a while. And today it was one about the bus ministry. You know, they go and try to get kids and all this stuff on... You know, get them to come to church. And of course, as I've said before, you go to KingJamesBibleOnline.org if you want to see these verses. John 1:40-46. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first findeth his own brother Simon, and blah, blah, blah. They go and find somebody else and bring them to just Jesus' character. That's basically what happens. You don't need me to read the whole thing. There are two very interesting stories tucked into this passage. One is the story of Andrew, who found his brother Simon Peter and brought him to Christ. The other is the story of Philip, who found a friend Nathaniel and brought him to Christ. Family and friends, there is a very definite sense in which these two stories give expression to the scope of our sphere of influence. Among your acquaintances, almost every one of them could be categorized either as family or friend. Well, enemy and co-workers also, you know. Because I don't consider none of my co-workers as friends. They're co-workers. People I have to work with and deal with. People I would rather not deal with. I have no choice. That's basically what a co-worker is. And you may be lucky to have a job where people you work with are decent, right? But we'll see. But this one, where, you know, blah, 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 he's going to tell you about all this stuff about family and friends, blah, blah. We'll skip that. We'll go to one. Soul winning is actively seeking the lost. You know, like the preaching CD I was listening to today, this guy talks about how he came from a broken family and all that. And I like one of the things that if they're not saved, it's a broken home. If they're not saved, it's a broken home. But of course, his family, they drank and cussed and all this stuff. You know. Jesus came to this earth with twofold purpose, to seek and to save that which was lost. Luke 19:10. Were you and I to adopt that same twofold purpose during the first part would result in doing more of the second part. That is, we need to do a lot of seeking in order to see the saving of our family and friends. And I know some of you who may have watched my other videos, and you know I've said I wasn't going to do none of these soul winning ones. I changed my mind. I've listened to some of these CDs and stuff. I figured, what the heck? We have so few saved because we seek so few. And that's another thing he mentions is how are these people going to hear about Jesus? How is God going to reach them but through us if we don't do this? Well, if this God was so powerful, all powerful and everything, I think he would not be stupid enough, if he existed and was as powerful and benevolent, he wouldn't be stupid enough to use human beings to spread his word. There's far better ways he could reveal himself to everybody. Hey, this is how you get into heaven. This is what you're supposed to do. Oh, that interferes with free will and faith. Oh, shut the hell up. Satan knew that if he existed, obviously he didn't, but supposedly he existed. He already knew he was able to choose whether or not to serve God. And I've always been interested. I always thought it was interesting, you know. Okay, Satan knows all this stuff about this God in heaven, and you know what his punishment would be by rebelling, and he does, knowing what his punishment was going to be. Not only that, he supposedly talked 1/3 of all the angels. So how bad must God in heaven be that this creature is able to convince 1/3 of the angels, and they all know God's will? Think about that. If you know a person perfectly, and you knew that person, been around that person day in and day out. Someone's not going to be able to lie to you and convince you that person is something else that he's not. Because right there, you're seeing them. And that's the thing. Satan would have to do it in the presence of this God. It makes no sense. The level of our seeking must be significantly increased if we expect to see many saved. And then, of course, he's going to, then God began to convict me. He talks about how he got saved or whatever, who cares. Then I like this one. The Atheist testimony engraved in granite. In 1997, I preached in the Northeast on a Sunday morning and Sunday night. Then caught an early flight on Monday and flew back to Nashville. A couple of my men met me at the Nashville airport and drove me about 2 hours over to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, where I was to speak at a preachers' meeting on Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Between 50 and 60 preachers were to be there. While driving, I said to the fellows, I preached in Lawrenceburg once before at a week-long meeting in 1967. When I was there then, the pastor took me to the cemetery that had something in it that I will never forget. When you come in on Route 64, a huge cemetery is visible, spread out probably 2 or 3 blocks, containing hundreds and hundreds of graves. I said, I believe there's the place right there. It had been 30 years since I had been there, but I remembered it clearly. We coasted into the meeting right at 1 o'clock. What I didn't know was, though they started at 1 o'clock, I wasn't to preach until 5 o'clock. It was one of those marathon deals where one preacher preached right after the other, and I was the last to speak. I preached about 5 o'clock. Then they spread out a big Baptist buffet. While we were eating, I asked the pastor, is that one structure in that particular cemetery? He said, that's the one. Several men heard me talking about it, so we took a little entourage of 15 or 16 over there just before sundown. 5 or 6 cars of our group pulled into the cemetery. Right inside the gate is a fairly large monument. In the center of the front side of it, there's a cameo of the man and his wife. His name on one side and hers on the other. Below the cameo picture is a bronze plaque. I don't remember her date of death, but he died in 1934. Wow, that's a long time ago. The bronze plaque has the testimony of this man, who was a well-known atheist in the area. Oh no, atheists are just so evil. That's what they'll tell you, That's why atheists are so hated. One of the reasons, because, people lie. These people lie about atheists. TVs, movies, and whatever. They do that about scientists, too. And, of course, whites, they lie about the Crusades and all this stuff. You really ought to read books about the Crusades. The Crusaders aren't as evil as you may be led to believe. But anyways, can you imagine atheists being so wrapped up in atheism that he wanted everybody to keep getting his testimony, which was something like this? Now, before I read his testimony that was on his tombstone or whatever, his granite thing, whatever. Okay, he says all that. Okay? But Christians do the same thing. About an hour ago, a little over an hour ago, someone was knocking on my door trying to bring the gospel. I just ignored them. I heard them talking to others. I usually ignore them. I'm not going to debate them usually. I might, if I'm prepared, I will debate them. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have a shirt on or anything like that. I was just sitting in my shorts playing video games, and I didn't want to pause my video game and to talk to some delusional person. Yeah, here we go. He made his life the best he could. No fear of God's, no love of Jesus. He thought of future punishment. No thought of future punishment or reward controlled his acts. His mind was free from religious or other superstitions. His sense of right and justice was the law he obeyed. While we were there, I noticed a car driving slowly around the little backdrop lane through the cemetery. A little bit later, the same car made the full loop and came back to where we were. An older lady rolled down the window and said, I was there the day they buried that guy, almost 64 years before. I said, you were here the day they buried him? She said, yes, I was just a little girl, 10 years old. Wow, she's 74 now. Then. She's probably dead now. I walked over towards her and said, will you tell me about it? She was glad to do so. She said, they had his funeral at the courthouse. I always wondered where the funeral of atheists was held. A big jazz band played jazz music. I figured something like that. Who cares if they play jazz music? There was a big crowd, and all the politicians made speeches because he was very famous. He was always giving money away, so almost everybody had something to say about him. So he gave him. You won't hear this about religious folk too much, though. Well, just look up Shelton Smith. Just Google his name. I'm not going to say nothing. His Twitter and all that stuff. I came out here and watched them put him in the ground. When she finished telling that story, I said to her, "Don't you imagine he would sing a different tune now if he could?" "Probably," she answered. "I don't think so." I continued, "After a man dies, sometimes those old wicked testimonies don't play too well." "You're right," she replied. I said, "I appreciate so much." And then basically she gets saved and all that because they scare her about hell and all this stuff. The living may soon be dead. Several years ago, I conducted a funeral of a lady. She was not a member of my church, but her family called me and asked me to do the funeral. Over the years, I've conducted hundreds of funerals. It is my practice always to preach the gospel at funerals and try to encourage people to get saved. And basically, hey, this guy is burning in hell. You don't want to burn in hell with this person, so get saved, And he goes over all that stuff. I said, "I believe I can." I stood there in the cemetery, Bible in hand. We turned our backs to the crowd. Read Romans Road, which is what they call it, Right there, that man bowed his head. Basically, he gets, a liberal church sent us a lost soul. They really don't like liberal churches. I don't understand liberal Christians or liberal churches. I made a video already about, an idiot atheist does Bible verses that, God hates liberals, liberal Christians. The Bible's pretty clear, Jesus was not a liberal. Okay? He was not a liberal. He would not agree with these Republicans and these conservatives either. I guarantee that, if he existed. Obviously, this Jesus never existed, but I'm just saying, he would not be too fond of them. Either of these people. And basically, some guy didn't know how to get saved, and he was scared to death. The liberal churches don't know about salvation or any of that stuff, because they don't really preach the Bible, so they sent him to this guy. Recognize every opportunity. If you want to save someone, and he talks about the mayor to Christ, leading a mayor, Hudson, some Dr. Hudson. You lead a mayor, anytime you go to a gas station, go anywhere. He talks about how he found a man who hated him with a passion. He led that person to the Lord. Because when I used to be a Christian, I used to take those little gospel tracts. Still have one. Who cares? I used to take those gospel tracts. I put them in books, atheist books. One of them I remember because I have it now, called The God Delusion. I put one in there. I used to put them in those little beer, 24-pack of beers, 12-pack of beers. I used to do all that stupid-ass stuff. And, go to the counter, the cashier, you give them the stuff. Now I feel stupid that I did it. And I actually feel ashamed because, those people working there, they have no choice but to sit there and listen to your garbage. Your reputation will either hurt or help you win souls. Basically, you have these idiots that cussing and drinking and smoking. Mainly the ones that tell it like it is. Then they tell you they're Christians. This is what he's talking about. Like when job I worked, had a student about 3-4 feet tall. She claiming to be a Christian, always cussing stuff. I'm going to tell him that this person's fired, that person's going to get fired, do this and that, fuck this, fuck that, shit, this, blah, blah, blah. All that was out of her mouth. But she was a Christian, sang in the choir. And that's what they're talking about here. A person like that is not going to be able to win someone to Christ. 2, soul winning is getting your priorities in order. In this great and beloved Bible story, Andrew got saved. He is mentioned only a couple of times in the Bible. Yet we know he was the brother of Simon Peter. That's right. Let's look closely at this verse. Well, he's talking about verse 41. If you want to read that, like I said, we already did that. He first findeth his own brother Simon and said unto him, "We have found the Messiah," which is being interpreted the Christ. Let's look closely at this verse. 1, there must be soul winner. There must be a soul winner, which is, of course, the Simon Peter. 2, go forth immediately. He immediately went and tried to win someone. 3, seek the lost. You know what that means. Anyone who's not saved, their version of saved. And you got to believe their version of the Bible. 4, forget lifestyle evangelism. Basically, just because you try to live the good life, reading your Bible, going to church, dressing properly, talking properly, isn't going to get someone saved, is what they're saying. You got to actually go out and reach them. Be a soul bringer, and you brought him to Jesus. Every now and then, someone in our church will say to me, Pastor, I don't think I can be a soul winner like you talk about. I would say, then why don't you be a soul bringer? Basically, you bring people with you, which is basically the same stuff. Who was Edward Kimball? Not many people know who Edward Kimball was. And basically, Edward Kimball, they're going to tell you, was a Sunday school teacher way back in the 1850s. He brought this guy, Dwight Lyman Moody, to Christ. You should Google Dwight Lyman, Lyman, Moody, if you want. You should. Actually, you probably could. The guy was kind of, he's like one of the people that these Christian folk really love. Here's the book I have right here, The Life of D.L. Moody. By D.L. Well, this is D.L. I got this at Sword of the Lord when I used to be a Christian. I've read all of it. It's actually not a bad book, And, then Soul Winning in Action, many years ago, John R. Rice is another one of the people they really love. John Rice and D.L. Moody. I think they would like to, if they had the opportunity, they would do that. Psalms 126:6, he that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with them. Sometimes the way we live and act shows that we don't believe that part of the Bible. Why? Because of a great promise in that verse. He that goes forth. Basically, you got to go forth and actually try to win souls. Fishing and following, and Norris Belcher's soul winning story. We want to go through that. Well, basically, he's waiting at an airport, and he wins people to Christ. The devil kept beating him over the head. How the devil tried to stop him and all that stuff. Tracting with Dr. Smith in airports. You go to airports, hotels, and, all that other stuff. Bringing others to Jesus. Wow. What can I say? Bye.